Unit 1, Chemistry of Life. Macromolecules sustain life. These macromolecules are lipids, proteins, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids. Lipids provide energy and cell structure, which is the phospholipid bilayer. Lipids are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Proteins help perform almost all bodily functions, as well as compose our traits and make up enzymes. Proteins are made out of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur. Enzymes power and speed up chemical reactions. Without enzymes, there would be no life. They act as a catalyst, speeding up necessary everyday reactions, such as metabolizing food and breaking down toxic waste. They decrease the energy needed to start these reactions. Carbohydrates provide energy and energy storage in the form of glycogen in animals and starch in plants. Carbs are made out of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Nucleic acids make up our genetic info, or DNA, which are essential to our life and who we are. Nucleic acids are made out of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. SNOPs are the fundamental building blocks of matter. They are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Just as we need these macromolecules to live, so do elephants, and they also need them to perform their everyday functions.
This is Unit 2, Cell Structure and Function. Cells are the units of all living things. There are around 30 trillion cells in our bodies, which all originate from a single zygote. The zygote then grows and divides into all the other cells. They provide structural support, convert energy, replicate DNA, and do a lot more for us. There are two main cell types, which are prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotes are single-celled organisms without nucleus or any organelles, while eukaryotes have a membrane-bound nucleus where DNA is stored and also other organelles. An example of prokaryotes could be bacteria, while eukaryotes could be like plant or animal cells. So there are also different organelles in plant and animal cells. They share key organelles like the nucleus, the mitochondria, the ER, but plant cells also have cells that have organelles that animal cells don't have. They have cell walls for support, chloroplast for photosynthesis, which also has chlorophyll in it that makes them green. And they also have a large central vacuole for nutrient storage. Animals have lysosomes to break down waste. Cell transport is when substances are moved across the cell membrane into or out of the cell. They do this to maintain homeostasis. The main types of transport are passive transport, active transport, and also endo and exocytosis. Passive transport has simple diffusion, osmosis, which is with water molecules, and facilitated diffusion, while active transport uses energy, or ATP, because it moves against the concentration gradient, unlike passive transport. An example of this could be the sodium-potassium pump, which pumps in 3 sodium for every 2 potassium out. Endocytosis is when the cell membrane folds in around material to create a vesicle to bring it inside the cell. And exocytosis is similar, except the cell expels waste and takes it out of the cell. The connection here is that elephants are made up of trillions of eukaryotic cells. These cells perform functions in the elephant that allow it to act like a normal elephant. It also connects the lab because we use the cells which contain the nucleus and mitochondria to find genetic material. This helps find where poached ivory can come from because we can map it down to certain species in a certain area.
Cellular energetics, cellular respiration and photosynthesis. ATP powers cellular work through the equation ADP plus energy plus P equals ATP. Energy is created through the breaking of bonds by hydrolysis, which is when water is added to split molecules apart. This splitting is what produces energy. ATP powers thousands of bodily functions, including cell division, the synthesizing of DNA, movement, and moving molecules against the concentration gradient across the cell membrane. Cellular respiration uses glucose and oxygen, and through energy release, creates carbon dioxide and water. It converts nutrients into ATP, or energy, and uses small amounts of ATP to create this energy. Photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide and water and sun energy to create glucose and oxygen. It makes sugars for plants and produces oxygen for us to breathe. This creates a cycle with each function using each other's byproducts to power it. Elephants partake in cellular respiration and exhale carbon dioxide, which is then used in photosynthesis. And their dung also provides plants nutrients, which perform the cycle of photosynthesis.
Unit 4, cell cycle, mitosis and meiosis. Cells go through the cell cycle. The cell cycle is a repeating series of events that cells go through for growth, function, and division. It has two main stages, interphase and the M phase. During interphase, the cell grows and copies its DNA so that it's ready to divide. During the M phase, the cell divides into two new cells. Mitosis and meiosis are both in cell division, but they're for different things. Mitosis creates two identical somatic or body cells and occurs repeatedly in the cell cycle and is used for growth and repair. Meiosis, on the other hand, creates 4 different reproductive cells with half the chromosome number. There are many stages of mitosis. There are 4 main stages. There's prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and also cytokinesis, which is in another section. During prophase, the chromatin condenses and spindle fibers form. During metaphase, chromosomes line up in the center, and then anaphase, they're pulled apart by the spindle fibers. In the last phase, telophase, new membranes appear and chromosomes begin to uncoil into chromatin. Cytokinesis then splits the cytoplasm into 2 parts so that 2 new daughter cells are made. Connection here is that elephants grow, heal, and reproduce through the cell cycle. They can grow from like a young elephant and like a small elephant to adult elephants because the cells grow. It also allows them to reproduce through meiosis and heal from injuries by creating new cells.
Unit 5, Heredity and Genetics. Heredity is the passing of traits from parents to offspring. Genotypes determine phenotypes. Genotypes are the alleles that make up a gene, while phenotypes are the physical traits that are expressed. These can follow the Mendelian or non-Mendelian genetic rules. Mendelian genetics follow Mendel's laws, where homozygous recessive displays the recessive trait, and heterozygous or homozygous dominant expresses the dominant trait. Non-Mendelian genetics include incomplete dominance, codominance, and multiple alleles, and these do not follow the Mendel's laws. Incomplete dominance is when the heterozygous phenotype is a mix, not completely dominant or recessive. Think of red plus white equals pink. Codominance is when both traits are fully and separately expressed. Think red plus white equals red and white spots. An example of this is blood type, when AB blood is both A and B. Multiple alleles is having more than 2 alleles for one gene. An example of this would be blood type, where there are 3 alleles, IA, IB, or I. X-linked traits are also included in non-Mendelian genetics. These are genes found on the X chromosome. This means that females inherit these genes normally, according to Mendel's laws, but males always express their X gene because they only have one. Elephant tusklessness is an X-linked trait, and they have multiple alleles when regarding their blood type. Elephants also express incomplete dominance because the shade of their skin may be mixed from their parents.
Unit 6, DNA structure, replication, and protein synthesis. So DNA is a double helix structure, and it looks like a twisted ladder. It has two anti-parallel strands, meaning that they go in opposite directions. The sides of the ladder are made from a sugar phosphate, while the center is made from nitrogen bases that pair with each other, which would be C with G and A to T. DNA replication is also semi-conservative, meaning that each new DNA has one parent strand and one new one. Before each cell divides, the DNA must be copied so that each new cell creates or receives the same genetic information for growth, repair, and more. Enzymes also help DNA replication. Enzymes like helicase, DNA polymerase, and more help DNA quickly and accurately by unzipping it, by breaking H bonds and adding nucleotides to it. There are two parts of protein synthesis, which is transcription and translation. During transcription, a section of DNA is copied into mRNA inside of the nucleus. And during translation, the second part, ribosomes read the mRNA and assemble amino acids to create the correct proteins. This connects to elephants because DNA has unique genetic information, and scientists can extract DNA from tusks and compare it to other samples in different regions. They can also use gel electrophoresis to do this. Also, since DNA replication allows DNA to replicate accurately, it is easier for scientists to find out where illegal ivory comes from.
Unit 7, Natural Selection and Evolution. Evolution is the genetic changes in a population from generation to generation. Survival of the fittest is a common phrase that means animals or traits best suited for their environment will survive and be passed on. There are 5 fingers to evolution: natural selection, gene flow, mutation, non-random mating, and genetic drift. Natural selection better adapts a population to its environment. Gene flow is the movement of individuals or alleles in and out of a population, and it allows for gene mixing and variation. Mutations are the change in DNA sequence, and they may change a phenotype to make an organism more or less fit for its environment. This also introduces variation. Non-random mating means that traits that attract mates increase reproductive success and will get passed on. This reduces variation because some traits that are beneficial will become more common. Genetic drift means chance events reduce size and gene pool of a population. This usually happens through natural disaster. Most tusklessness in elephants is a result of natural selection because those without tusks would not have been targeted and would have had a better chance to reproduce. This then meant that tusklessness would be passed down to offspring.
Unit 8, Ecology. Ecology is the study of how organisms interact with each other and their environment. It helps scientists to understand how other organisms survive and depend on one another. There are also levels of ecological organization, which you can see in the picture on the right. It goes from an organism to a population to a community to an ecosystem, then biome, and finally the biosphere. An organism is just a single animal, while a population is a group of the same organisms that live and are able to breed together. A community is all different populations that live together, while an ecosystem is the community plus abiotic or non-living factors. A biome is a large region with similar climates and ecosystems, and finally, the biosphere is all ecosystems in the world. Energy flows through ecosystems in a feeding hierarchy. These are called trophic levels. Producers, consumers, and decomposers are all parts of the trophic levels. Producers make their own food through photosynthesis, so they are like plants. Consumers eat other organisms, and decomposers break down dead organisms. A good example of decomposers are fungi or mushrooms. Species also interact with each other through competition, symbiosis, and predation. Predation is when species eat one another, while competition is when species compete for certain resources. Symbiosis has 3 subparts to it, but it's basically a close relationship between species. It has mutualism, where both species benefit from one another, parasitism, where only one species benefits and the other is hurt, and commensalism, where one species benefits and the other species isn't affected at all. Finally, this connects to elephants because elephants are keystone species, meaning their actions shape ecosystems and support other animals. For example, they use their tusks to dig holes, which becomes a water source for others. Without elephants, many ecosystems would change by a lot. Also, gel electrophoresis helps scientists understand where poached ivory comes from, which can lead to them seeing how elephant populations can affect that specific ecosystem.
Laudato Si. Because of us, thousands of species will no longer give glory to God by their very existence, nor convey their message to us. Due to poaching, nearly 100 elephants are being killed every day, equivalent to about 1 every 15 minutes, and that number only continues to increase. Their populations have declined by about 70% in the last 30 years, and scientists predict that if poaching and uncontrolled human growth that threatens elephant habitats continues, they are predicted to be near total extinction in the wild by the year 2050. Both the western black rhinoceros and the Sphinx's macaw have gone extinct in the last 15 years, with the rhino being hunted for its horns, similar to elephants, and the macaws being sold in the illegal pet trade. If change regarding the conservation and protection of elephants, as well as the stopping of poaching, isn't made, then we will likely be the reason elephants go extinct, and why they won't be able to show God glory any longer.
Laudato Si. The quote I chose is that we can be silent witnesses to terrible injustices if we think that we can obtain significant benefits by making the rest of humanity, present and future, pay the extremely high costs of environmental deterioration. This quote is saying that people can cause serious harm if we choose to benefit from harm to the environment and others. For example, if we allow and ignore elephant poaching because it gives us profit, even though it harms the environment and our future, we are causing serious harm. People kill elephants for their ivory for profit, but they don't think about how it affects others. Also, elephants are keystone species, so harming them affects entire ecosystems. We could try and fix this by spreading awareness or funding and supporting conservation efforts or other park rangers.